White Republicans are cowards. Let's talk about why. When we're talking about cowardly white Republicans, we're obviously not talking about the brave souls who venture forth in the suburbs to go to places like Target and Walmart to buy Oreos and hair care products and must carry long guns and sidearms because the danger is imminent. We're not talking about the stalwart supporters of the border wall who seek to prevent evil brown people from thrusting forth into the United States and invading their backyard barbecues and killing their families and friends. We're not talking about the brave souls who go to state houses brandishing long guns in order to get the point across that they don't want to be in lockdown anymore, because let's face it, peaceful protest without arms just doesn't work. No, when we talk about cowardly white Republicans, we're talking about those who insist on passing bills to limit voting rights so that people of color and marginalized groups have a much more difficult time of voting. After all, the 2020 election taught these people that a free and fair election that is easy to vote in and very accessible will go against them. So what has their response been? Since 2020, 18 states have enacted 30 new laws to make it more difficult for people to vote. From limiting hours, reducing drop boxes, restricting write-in ballots even more, to even making it illegal to hand out water and snacks to people who stand in line for hours on end to vote. Which, let's face it, voting is the most democratic process that we have. If everyone is not able to vote freely and easily, it becomes a lot less democratic. Why do you think these cowardly white Republicans are so terrified of voting? In my personal opinion, this is a stopgap for something that is inevitable. The simple fact that whites will become the minority in the United States by the year 2043. And after that, we're going to drop down significantly into the minority. And white people are absolutely terrified that once they're the minority, they'll be treated exactly the way that they've treated other people. Now, their behavior of gerrymandering, restricting voting rights, making it difficult for people to vote, and even lunatics threatening civil war if their candidate or their party doesn't win elections, this is the last-ditch effort of a group of people who feel entitled to hold power that they believe they're entitled to. Now, let's face it, the only reason that white people have maintained that power is because the guests that we brought over from Africa were brought in chains, and the indigenous people that lived here were murdered wholesalely so that we could steal their land and make sure that we owned all of the property. At this point, white people are terrified because once we are in the minority, maybe these people will turn around and say, fuck you, we've put up with your shit for 200 years. We don't have to do it anymore. Now, in all probability, it's likely that that's not going to happen. Even though all of these groups have justification for hating white people, I honestly believe they're probably more forgiving than we have been when it comes to being magnanimous towards those groups. We have a long history of being assholes and douchebags, and if we're being honest, that is what these cowards are terrified of. They are terrified of retribution for 200 years plus of asshole douchebag behavior. Now, what they're doing with voting laws, the reason I say it's a stopgap, no matter what, you will be in the minority if you're a white American. Once that pivots, you're not going to be this immense voting bloc that can control elections and put morons in like Donald Trump, or keep idiots in power like Mitch McConnell, or any of these governors like Ron DeSantis who are going out of their way to kill numerous people through COVID and other stupidity on their part. I mean, these people have gone out of their way. In honesty, I kind of believe they're probably doing it to hope they can reduce the numbers of minorities since they have less access to health care than those privileged white people do. Now let's be blunt here. These restrictions of rights, threats of civil war, and everything that these cowardly individuals and groups of people are doing are all nothing more than the last-ditch efforts of a group of people to maintain power because, for some reason, they think the color of their skin entitles them to that power and the ability to control the lives of others. That is not the way a democracy works, and if we keep going down this road, it may not be the cowardly white Americans that end up creating a revolution because people are going to get sick to death of the bullshit that they're pulling. And the peaceful liberals out there who are more inclined to act through legislation, peaceful protest, and other actions, they're going to turn around and say, two can play at that game. I hope this doesn't come to play, but anything is possible. And let's face it, if they keep going down this path of trying to put dictators into power and hold power through any means possible so that they can continue to repress others, they're a doomed group. Now, it's my sincere hope that somehow we get past this moronic place in history, but the reality is the way this nation is and has been, we've gone from a somewhat reasonable country, I say somewhat, to one that is absolutely polarized because of our two-party system and the fact that the gap between those parties keeps growing. And that gap seems to be growing more and more every year as the population of white people in proportion to everyone else is going down. Again, these people are terrified that they will be treated exactly the way that they've treated other people. And make no mistake about it, they're not doing this because they're big, burly, brave people. These are absolute cowards, terrified of the consequences of their actions coming to bite them in the ass in the future. That's it for today. If you like the content, remember to like and subscribe down below. If you don't like it, comment below as well. Doesn't matter to me, it all helps the stats. As for everyone watching, I hope you have an awesome day, and we'll catch you next time.